Hi, I'm Carcina. Oh, let's talk about it. Let's talk about it.
No one knows Carcino and none of these.
There's so much going on in the world, and I'm just giving my 2 cents on it. Go in and do a raid at someone's house, but you don't have an arrest warrant for them. What's good? What's good? What's good? I know it's pretty early for most of y'all on a Saturday, but let's get it in. This is something we needed to discuss. I felt it's going to bring up a lot. What's up, Doug? CPT is definitely in the house. This is something I normally would cover on the Patreon, but I felt, why not do it here? Give y'all a little taste of what the Patreon's life is like. What's up, Sal? So, yeah, we're going to give y'all a little taste of what it's like over there in our world. Now, when people start to look at the situations and blend them out in front of the rest of the world so that the whole landscape can change and look different than what it really appears to be, people start to become unhinged as they can't control the narratives anymore. So because they can't control the narrative, they skew off the road. You know, you ever see that? The narrative don't fit. The lie don't fit anymore. So they got to go towards another direction. So once that starts happening, you're put in a different box. So I talked to Brian, God damn it, what's his last name? Well, anyway, I talked to Brian. I'm sorry, Brian. But we were talking for about 45 minutes about Straight Outta Compton. He has seen, but he works in cinematography. He worked for various studios. He's been in every movie you know. He was connected to every movie damn near in the world. You're gonna see Brian's name as far as in the credits. So he has seen my Straight Outta Compton video from like 2015 or 2016, around that time. And he was just happened to be watching it. He was like, I'll often watch some Straight Outta Compton stuff. But he was telling me things like, did you know Michael B. Jordan was supposed to play Dr. Dre? I was like, yeah, I heard that. Like, he turned it down because of Fantastic Four. He was like, yeah, that happened, but he's like, that was Dr. Dre's choice. The studio wasn't really keen on having Michael B. Jordan play Dr. Dre. And I was like, well, why not? You know, that's Michael B. Jordan. And he was like, well, Michael B. Jordan wasn't the Michael B. Jordan at the time. He was still an actor just, you know, trying to find his footing in Hollywood. He hadn't really, you know, blown up out the stratosphere yet. So this would have been his major lead movie, you know, to really stand out, this Straight Outta Compton. You know, that would have really put him on the map and got him over the top. Playing Dr. Dre. So I was like, oh, okay. So we started talking about the original script. Because he was like, you were so right. And some of the things that you were saying about how the script was made and designed to be, and why you didn't see certain things that should have been there. And I was like, yeah, because I was wondering, like, what happened here? What happened there? And it just didn't happen. And I felt like weird by that. I felt like, man, that should have been there. Why wasn't that there? And it should have happened this way, and that didn't happen this way at all. Why did they feel to take the liberties to do that? So Brian was the one that told me a lot. That first of all, you got to go back to the beginning of how the movie was made. So y'all don't mind if I tell y'all, right? All right. Well, hit the like button, hype the video, all those wonderful things that they tell me to tell y'all to do. Please do. Now, oh great. Like I tell you, everybody hit me up the moment I hit record. I don't know why. Now, here's the situation. Most of the people that was in Straight Outta Compton, they weren't even a thought of when they was talking about making this movie. This movie was in works and they was in early developments when they were doing 8 Mile. That's when this first became a reality. The Straight Outta Compton movie was in discussions in like early 2003, 2, around that time. That's when they were first working on the movie. So they wanted to do an N.W.A movie after 8 Mile, after Dr. Dre and all of this. So they was like, Dre was like, oh, I don't want to do that. They had just did the Up in Smoke tour, huge successful album. Dr. Dre is Dre don't want to go revisit his past because he's like, I don't know about that. That's too risky, for his career. That could turn all his fans against him because a lot of that stuff got buried, and he went through years to try to get rid of all that and get it out of his system. And this is in like early 2003, 4. So this is before Me Too even came around. So after the success of 8 Mile, that's how everything started to change. Once 8 Mile was successful, Dre was more warmed up to the idea, but they had too many obstacles to go through. One of the main obstacles in the situation, of course, is the sticking point, is one main character, Marion Suge Knight. So when you got Marion Suge Knight on the case, there's going to be a major problem in the horizon. Major problem. So when they came up with the implications of Marion Suge Knight problems, this is how stuff like this turns into a whole different prospect. Because before there was Michael B. Jordan, he was not even a fixture, not even thought of to be Dr. Dre at the time. I'm not saying that's a bad choice. I'm just saying Corey Hawkins did a great job in his portrayal of Dr. Dre. I don't think Michael B. Jordan could have done a better job of playing Dr. Dre. Right, that's all I'm saying. Is that there's no way I could see that being a possibility or something that is, yeah. Now, the Eazy-E problem they didn't have because Eazy wasn't alive, and Ruthless Records was pretty much defunct. And them being able to tell this story of Ruthless Records, it would have been easy for them to acquire the rights to do that and work with Tamika Wright. But they was doing this without Tamika Wright. They was just making the movie without her. They was writing a movie and doing it, making it basically the Dr. Dre movie with Ice Cube. Cube was in the movie and was like, okay, that's cool, because he's like, we're gonna have to get Cube in here. And then we'll bring Ren in, and all the three of us will work on, the stories, and everybody else could just write it up. Cube wanted to write and produce the entire film. This is what Brian said caused a whole thing, because Ice Cube wanted to make an N.W.A movie, but he could never get the rights. Dre wasn't going to sign off on it unless he was involved. So Cube had the idea before anybody. This is what nobody knows. Cube was writing this movie and was like, I don't know if I want to touch it, but then Dre, because he's like, it would take me and Dre to write this movie, because I was only around until the first album dropped, and then I was out the group. So Dre and Ren, those are the guys that could tell it more than me, because they have all the rest of the inside stories. I got the early developments of it. I'm in the process with them there. But Ren was the middleman between Dre and Cube at that time, because they were close. Dre and Cube was real close until that happened. When he left, he felt like, you're a traitor. So what else me and Brian talked about? Brian said that there was no other person that they were going to think about but Corey Hawkins. The studio, when it came down to picking the actor, Corey Hawkins was the guy. There was no way they were going to shift away. He blew everybody away with his audition. Like, he auditioned for that and he nailed it. And they was like, he got the look. He got the working with Dre, watching Dre in the early years of Dr. Dre. This is the perfect character to play Dr. Dre. So they lucked up there, and they needed that to be Dre, and Dre's going to be the star of the movie. Everybody's going to have their scenes, but this is a Dr. Dre movie. Cube didn't have the financial backing at the time. He didn't have his stuff in order. He was fighting the studio. He didn't have the rights to Friday anymore. He had pretty much was trying to do his own thing. So he was in a whole different, they was in a whole different realm than what other people could even understand. Now, when they start looking at a lot of different people and putting those elements together to try to figure out who was who and what was what, how was they going to start the movie, what they were going to start with, they say, well, you can't have a Straight Outta Compton anything without Eazy-E. But Suge wanted to be an executive producer. He wanted to come on in. Suge wanted to get money, and that's it. Now, Suge Knight was opposed, and Suge had all the money in the world. Suge was like, nah, you ain't gonna tell nothing about Death Row. And the original script, they had Dre and Suge like basically having a discussion early on. Like, Suge was in the movie a lot. It's just hanging around, bodyguard. They had him up there with Bobby Brown, bringing Bobby Brown around, and he ran into Eazy-E, and it was a lot of Suge involved in the story of him being around. That was all cut out to minimize Suge Knight's involvement with any of this. Like, just very small, limited Suge Knight scenes. And Suge is like, you can't have somebody play me without my approval. So people was pulling out of this movie before it even got started because they were in fear of their life. It was a lot of people walking around in fear of their life, dog. That's how bad it was. I say the grand finale. But no, they never went. They never went as far as. Well, no, Ice Cube went and changed his lyrics without nobody knowing. He went back and changed his verse. Everybody verse smoked Ice Cube on that song, on the original verse. Cube went home, rewrote his verse, spent all night, came in that morning and re-recorded that verse. That was the last verse he ever did with N.W.A. But he snuck back in the morning and re-recorded his verse. That wasn't the original verse that Cube had on it. Cube snuck back in and redid the verse. That wasn't the original, the way it was laid out to go. Yeah. No one has ever heard the verse except for the people that was there. Ren told the story. That's how I know MC Ren told the story. Because when the song came out, DMC was gonna cut him. DOC was gonna cut him anyway. He was gonna cut him off the because he did that, and it was on DOC's album. DOC was just gonna cut his verse off the album, but Eazy-E was like, "Nah, we ain't cutting that. That's N.W.A." You know what I'm saying? Like, you don't cut no verse over here. That's N.W.A. shoot. That's gonna fly. Because they at this time, Ice Cube was still part of the group. Q was upset. DOC got an album before him. Q and Eazy was like, "No, just wait. You're gonna get your own album." But DMC got it first, and he was mad. Because they was all in competition on who could write the better songs. DLC or Q. Both of them, when you have two of the best writers for hip hop working on your project, it's gonna be dynamite. So when you listen to the Chronic, that's DOC. That's Doc. Now, let me get back to Straight Outta Compton because we didn't got into a whole new thing. Let me talk about what Brian's talking about. Now, the biggest thing in there, right, it's in the original script. So you got to think about it. When they made this, there was the people that wrote the script because Adam Maris, who was one of the original people who worked on it in the early 2000s, had written this script out, and it was entirely different. They had Eazy-E more violent, like threatening people. Him started using like marijuana and stuff like this, and how he had went broke. He tore up his house, because he was losing all this money when everybody left. And what's her name? Leigh, Leigh, what's her name? Savidge and Alan Wenkus. They were the ones who originally was working on the original script. And they had Eazy-E. They did all this research, and all of this stuff was going on with the actual situation. And they was like, Eazy-E was looking for Suge Knight and all of this and making it a whole big Death Row, Ruthless Records beef. Like that was being explored. Like each side trying to get the other side, and it was becoming a war on the inside. And Dr. Dre just wants to make music. They wanted to explore more into Dre's personal life with his mother, his father, and his brother, and why they had a temper, and Dre's alcoholism, and how he got away from alcoholism, and how the early years, his temper, and then they went into the D Barnes situation with all of that was a graphic thing. I thought they would glance over it. They had it where Dre actually followed her in the nightclub, and they got it written out. I was shocked they written it all out, that it got that far. I'm quite sure Dre would have took it out, but F. Gary Gray cut it. Dr. Dre didn't say he wanted to cut it. He knew Gary Gray was going to cut it. When he was selected as the director, he said, nah, we cutting that part out. Dre is never going to sign on to that. So the early draft script, and I was like, it was in the original draft. She actually got attacked, and that's in the draft. It's in the script. No, the sister that was involved with was a girl named Ray. She was like the middle person who was like instigating this thing before it got on TV, and they had the N.W.A interviewed, and they had a live feed with Ice Cube, and it looked like he was responding, but it was like a tape delay or something. Of the way the studio decided to edit, she's not in control of any of this. So none of this had anything to do with D Barnes. But Dre thought she set it up to make it look like Cube was dissing them while they were live on air at the same time when they wasn't there at all. But it made it look like Cube was just dissing them to their face. It made them look weak. So yeah, the producers set that up to go that way. But that was done by Priority Records. And, the other guy over there, the other Brian, racist Brian, he was the one trying to set this up with Q versus N.W.A, to build up Ice Cube and sell his records by attaching them to N.W.A, even though he knew that he wasn't in the group anymore. But when you say Ice Cube of N.W.A to sell the album, it was marketing ploy, but you put a target on Cube's back. Cube had to get out of LA for a long time. He said it's called Pump It Up. Yep. Now, thanks to YouTube, you get to see a lot of this stuff materialize. So going through the early drafts, Dre did not want to go down his abusive path and go through the drinking, because by the time the movie was around, you had Me Too, all this stuff was going on, and people were, time's up. Everybody had a foundation now for domestic violence and all. So Dre was like, I ain't trying to go down this road. He wasn't. Dre didn't want to revisit any of this. He was out. They talking about all that. I don't want to. So he was against putting any of that in the movie. That's just this is about N.W.A. This is not about Dr. Dre. Even though they like Dre, you the lead of the movie. What are you talking about? This is about you. Nah. Nah, don't put that in there. But this is why it wasn't really, explored. Why he was getting speeding tickets, driving around at night. Dre was getting in all kind of trouble. And they wanted to put that in there when Dr. Dre actually got shot. And they wanted to bring that into the movie. Dre didn't want that in the movie. Dre still had a bullet in his leg. They just recently, he had it taken out his leg. But he kept a bullet in his leg for years. Right. Once he did that, he got to the point where he could go ahead and talk about it when they did the Defiant ones. All of the stuff he had taken out of the movie. I mean, it was nothing he could do. Dre got so many assaults, it's crazy. It wasn't just Michelle A. It was D Barnes, Michelle A, another woman. Like Dre was a problem. Like he was not the good guy at all. Like in the group, he was the one that was kicking the ass. Nah, Dre had a drinking problem. And when he got drunk, he became violent. Almost every time. Dre would drink himself into a position where he was violent. They cut out the scene when Dre got drunk and hit a guy at the roller rink. They was performing at the roller rink. And Dre snapped on a dude and started beating him up for talking to one of the girls that ended up being like his first baby mom. They didn't go through any of that with really Dre in the beginning. I think they touched on it a little bit, but it was so incomplete. But he totally neglected them. Didn't give them no money, no support, nothing. Arabian Prince was in it. I think they had his character there, but they didn't really go into anything that he actually done with N.W.A. If you was a gang member, Dre would go upside your head. Dre was the type that was impulsive. Like Dre almost got smoked so many times because of stuff, his acts. They was in St. Louis, and rappers used to tour together back then. They all be on the same bus. You know what I'm saying? It was not like it is today. Like you got to understand, hip hop wasn't accepted in every place. So if you got a venue to have hip hop, you're going to have like a massive show. You got Salt and Pepper, Eric B. and Rakim, Big Daddy Kane, Public Enemy, N.W.A. And at the end of that night, who would close the show would be LL Cool J. Like that's how the marquees used to be. Everybody would be like, dude, you got to see everybody. And it was like you didn't want to miss the first show because the first show was just as good as the last. You got to see a real show, a real performance. And most of these people rode on the same bus, especially if they was from the West Coast. They'll have a bus, they get on the tour bus or whatever to go do their tours, and they all on the same bus. So you got Ice-T and his syndicate rolling around with N.W.A. They on the tour bus, touring together, driving from place to place. They all on the same bus. So guys was brothers, you know what I'm saying? And they all be on this same bus. And Dre got drunk in St. Louis. They did a show, and the police was giving them problems anyway. Dre got drunk and got himself in a scuffle once again, and this was during sound check. So sound check, Dre was already in a mood because he didn't want to do St. Louis. Like he was ready. He was pissed because of the cops or whatever they were saying in St. Louis. So they was at the Joe Louis Arena. And I think that was, what was they at? They went to do a show at the Joe Louis Arena. And I believe that was in Atlanta, if I'm not mistaken. Wherever the Joe Louis Arena is, they went to that one. And that was the next one. So when they went there, that was a whole nother incident. Everywhere they would go and pop up, there would be incidents. So they never wanted to have, and I'm not saying all of them was Dre's fault, but Dre was involved in a lot of incidents with N.W.A. Eazy-E was almost never the one to cause a problem. He was the one to diffuse the problem. Like if it wasn't for E, this would have been a situation. Like the scene you saw in Straight Outta Compton when they went back to the hotel and they got the groupies, and the dude came up in there was like, I got some pistols, I'm finna go get N.W.A. And Eazy-E was the one that brought them guns out. And Eazy-E had military type weapons, like AR, like this wasn't normal back then. Like the stuff he had on the TV screen was no joke. He really owned those weapons. He was no joke. Nah, he had to let dude know, like, you can come get your girl. You know what I'm saying? Like, but don't come up in here thinking you finna do something. Oh, rest in peace to Big Black. That was Eazy-E's guy, man. Like his right-hand man. You remember the guy Big and Rob? Remember that show? The guy that played Big, that was Eazy-E's right-hand man. Yeah, that was Eazy's right-hand man too. They used to call him Big Black. Yeah, Freaky Tales is nice. I mean, I like that. You know, telling some base stories in a different type of way. About the contracted home invasions and all that. Yeah, that was dope. No, Dr. Dre. Oh no, Dr. Dre got a gun and shot at some people when he was with Snoop in Milwaukee. You know what I'm saying? Like man, it's so much stuff that could have been in the script that wasn't. It'd have been a whole different type of movie. So Suge was holding everything up. So they had to cut out a lot. Like Tupac wasn't gonna be in it at all. Like they put him in it because they gotta show Tupac, but they're not really in it. Like they couldn't do the California Love video that they were supposed to do in the original script on the California Love set, and like I said, they had Suge Knight problems, and Suge Knight had control over the music. So a lot of the Death Row things that they was gonna go down, they couldn't really get into, especially musically. So, well, Dre gave up all his rights to the music just to get out of the label, to get out of Death Row, to leave and just say, hey, I'm not contesting any of that. I'm out. You got it all to yourself. I'm gone. I'm gonna do my own thing. Suge was never gonna let Dre do his own thing. He had to crush Dre till Dre can have no more options but to come back to Death Row. That's what he wanted. He wanted to let Dre know you can't go nowhere. This is your only option. Death Row is for life. And this is your only option. No. No, they got banned from telling a lot of people about the situation altogether. So they had gotten banned from performing. Like Dr. Dre, Snoop, they was banned from one event. Like they couldn't even come back. Well, that was his. DOC was his drinking buddy. Doc, that's how he got in the car accident. That car crash ruined everything. When he was in the van and turned the van over, or whatever they said, and it crushed his larynx and everything else, and he was just never the same. His rap career was over. And that's when Dre was talking about leaving. That's when the whole thing, the wheels was starting to turn. And Suge started to work with him because Suge had DOC. And Doc was already thinking different. Because he had Doc. Doc was the crazy one. Suge was the calm one. DOC would get in a fight. That's what I'm saying. They got barred being with him, and he brought Dre around because Dre was his drinking buddy. Him and Dre be sitting there drinking fifths, and then they get wild as hell. Like DOC was talking to somebody girl up in the club and beat up the dude, beating up his homeboy. Suge just laughing. He loving it. But he was the calm guy. Dre and DOC were alcoholics. Both of them were alcoholics. Both of them get violent when they drink. They're dangerous alcoholics. So for them to be able to balance that and still do their job was crazy. It was a time bomb. Because without the liquor, Dre is calm, relaxed, nice, cool. Once he start getting some drinks in him, any little thing could set him off. So what they wanted to do was say, this is about Dre's fighting his inner demons, not dealing and processing the death of his brother. This is what the script was supposed to be about with Straight Outta Compton. It was Dr. Dre's journey as he was with N.W.A, Death Row, to get to Aftermath, to change his life completely. In the aftermath of all of that, leads to Aftermath Records, leads to Eminem, leads to 50 Cent of this empire. And this has to start from here. Dr. Dre's dealing with the processing the loss of his brother that he never really had a chance to grieve, which led to the drinking, the abuse, and all of this. This is all a triumph story of Dr. Dre. That's what the movie was about. This is what it was supposed to be when it was scripted out. This is exactly what the storyline was supposed to be. But in the process of making that film, all of it got edited out, so you couldn't get that part. You just have to figure it out. but you don't get there if you watch the movie, because they don't glance on a lot of it. They glance on it. They don't explore. It's done sloppy and kind of choppy, but they have no choice because things are taken out of the film. So if I remove the soul of the movie, there is no movie. There isn't a movie anymore. It's become entertainment now. And now you got other people, they want to hear the songs, they want to hear. So the actual structure of what the movie was supposed to be, the grit, isn't there anymore. So you don't get to see that story. You don't get to see him processing his brother's death. They don't really foreshadow that anymore. It's all about Eazy-E, what's going on over there with Ruthless Record. You got so much going on that the Dre element of it is lost. To the part when he starts driving wild in the middle of the night and gets pulled over by the cops and have to go to jail, driving, speeding down in there, running from the police. You don't even understand why he's doing it. It's like, what is Dre doing? Like, why is he doing that? Yeah, but that's pretty much how that went, So yeah, if you want to look at it and take it all in at one time, yeah, that's exactly what it's gonna look like. Well, the Defiant Ones was done by Jimmy IV to promote Jimmy IV, and beats. But we'll go into more details on this on the Patreon, because now then we'll be able to explore a lot more. Because we're going to go into the Snoop situation and why Snoop was etched out of a lot of things. You see, Snoop, that's the thing about a lot what people don't know. Dre and Snoop are not close. They are not close at all. Dre really hates that he got to go to Snoop to do anything. Like because they got that union, but he's like, I'm close. He's more closer to Eminem than he is with Snoop. But he know they're tied together. But Snoop is just like, the ego is through the roof, and he just don't like being around Snoop. Well, Snoop lies a lot. And it drives Dre crazy that he got to sit there and deal with it. Who is this calling me? These people been calling me forever. And I don't know who the hell they are. But I don't answer solicited calls like that. I keep seeing that same number pop up. I'm going to one day be in the mood and just cuss their ass out. Oh yeah, go to the Patreon, man. We got it's nice and up and cracking right now. But yeah, we got a lot popping. So I'm gonna go ahead and get up out of here. I just wanted to tell y'all that before I forgot what Brian told me. I'm gonna tell it to you while it was fresh on my head. But yeah, that whole thing with Michael B. Jordan and all that, that was Dre's choice, but he was doing Fantastic Four and all of that. But they were always going to go with this guy because of that audition. So the casting, they was like, look, Dre, you're going to have to prove on this dude because this actor here can hit, he's more in depth. He's got the look. This is what it is. Oh, yeah. In the Memphis scene in the 90s? No. So the next live stream we do is going to be college football. That'll be here in the next, I would say, about the next hour. So 1 hour, we're going to be back up here with college football. So, yeah, I said I did a tribute to Mike yesterday on One Crack News. So, yep, college football in 1 hour. I'm finna start setting it up right now, and we're gonna roll over there. So y'all gonna be ready to go. All right, 1 hour. Let's get it. Check you up.